Hey guys, I want to talk about bag space as a tank or even as a DPS warrior. Um, I haven't played any other classes end game yet. I do have a 60 paladin that I heal on, but bag space doesn't seem to be a big issue on the paladin. The the issue with tanks or with warriors and tanks specifically is that especially when you get towards end game. So end game in this case would mean, anything, really anything BWL and beyond, because in this day and age in classic, you need to have multiple sets of gear in your bags as a Fury Prot tank. You can't just run around in your maximum threat gear all the time. You need to have some mitigation gear for the hard hitting bosses, the threat gear for the softer hitting bosses that the DPS are gonna could potentially rip off threat on you. You might need to have some fire resist gear for Ragnaros or Fire Maw, you know, um, Cloak of the Shadow Flame, or excuse me, Onyxio Scale Cloak, not Cloak of the Shadow Flame, for Shadow Flame. So you quickly find yourself overwhelmed as a Fury Prot tank with and you got all your consumes. So there's a couple things that I do to help manage my bag space, and one of them is to get a bag add-on. So the two most popular that people use in my guild are Bagnon, which is what I use, and then Addy bags. And what these do is give you a consolidated view of your bags instead of having to open them individually. And Addy bags, I think also, I've never used Addy bags, but I've seen screenshots of it. It looks like it categorizes your stuff. So it'll say like, here's your gear, here's your consumes, here's your materials or whatever. I like using Bagnon because I've used Bagnon since like the original release of TBC or Wrath, I forget which one, and I'm just used to it. People that use Addy bags say that they love Addy bags. People that use Bagnon say they love Bagnon. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one. So this gives you a consolidate, and you can see that I kind of have the stuff that stays in my bags all the time to the right, and then I have my consumes here, and then I have this is just open space. The open space is for when I'm not raiding, if I want to go farm stuff, and then when I'm raiding, this gets filled up with gear from my bag or from my bank. So I didn't want to fly here. I wanted to fly here. Plague lands. So the first thing I think you need to do after you get a bag add-on is, so here's and this is another nice feature of Bagnon. I don't know if Addy Bags does this. I assume it does. You right-click the bag icon down here and it shows you your bank, and then you can switch between characters. So you can see all of your characters' banks at any point. So I could see like my consumes. I can see this is my consume bank alt. I could look at my material bank alt, which has all of my mats, and I can see what I've got. And then I can also check their inventories. So I could check my so this is essentially, without logging into the character, here's what my consume alt has. And then it shows you, when you mouse over stuff, it says the total available are 67, and then it tells you the breakdown. So that's kind of nice. But let me get back to my stuff. So once you get a bag add-on, what you want to do is kind of figure out what do you need, like what is essential. So you need to have consumes on you, and you want to have, I like to have some consumes in the bank. I don't have a ton, you can see. I usually have one stack of each. So I've got one stack of Titans, one stack of Shadow Pot, and these are just to reload in between raids. So or if we wipe for some reason and we need to go back to the bank, which doesn't happen very often these days, but I like to have, so that way you're not waiting on the mail, because in Classic era, mail is not immediate between your alts. If it was, then I would not keep these on my main character. So I usually keep one, I keep in my bank or in my bags what I need for any given raid. And then in my bank, I keep one backup stack of each of those items. So I've got like a stack of sharpening stones, a stack of dents, Scorpok, Riproids. I've got all my Zanzas, you know. And when I go to a raid, the very next day I go out and replace these and put them back in my bank. Goblin Sapper Charges, Dynamite, Elixir of Poison Resistance, Rendhead, which doesn't work anymore. So I'll probably get rid of. And then there's a couple things like my Epic mount. I use a different mount now, and then I've got some Whipperroot Tubers, which are soulbound, so you can't send those to your bank alts. The Juju Chill, Juju Ember, those are also soulbound. This stuff is for turning in for roids and whatnot. And then down here is all my gear. So this entire row is all flask set healing gear. Bijous for turning in to get Zanzas. This is a quest item. This is a quest item. This is an Arcanum of Rapidity that I'm saving for Leg Plates of Carnage, so that will eventually get used and not take up a slot anymore. My Nat Peggle's Broken Reel, my Gigaflux Helmet for Slimes in Nax, all my Frost Resist gear, and then here's a couple pieces of tier. Here's a couple pieces of mitigation gear that I no longer use, but I don't want to get rid of yet. Frost Oils, so here's my row for AQ40, so I've got Frost Oils, Frost Weapons, Nature Resist Ring, which I don't wear Nature Resist anymore. So I'll probably end up getting rid of this Nature Resist stuff. I don't tank it World Dragons either. I kind of kept this stuff around because I thought maybe one day I'll want to tank World Dragons. And I never have. I just don't do World Dragons. I don't need to do the World Dragons is really the reason why. And then I've got, you know, the Hammer Zulfaric, Scepter for Maradon, just like stuff you don't want to get rid of because you can't replace it once it's gone. And then here's some of my fire resist stuff. So breastplate of Chromatic Flight, Lotheb's Reflection. Here's a ring that I just don't ever wear because I don't ever DPS. It's more of a DPS ring. Barbaric Belt. I do swap this into my bag sometimes if I need to for certain fights for Rage. Earth Strike. I'm probably gonna end up selling that because I don't really use it anymore. And then my Onyxia Scale Cloak, and then I've got some fire resist here as well. And then I've got some old weapons that I don't use anymore, but I don't want to get rid of. So you can kind of see, like, and there's, you know, some trinket, like Light of a Loon probably can get rid of that. That's really not used. These pets probably can get rid of them. I like the Word Carrier, but I don't ever use them. I don't ever have the space. So I'm keeping them in my bank, but I probably should just get rid of them. And then here's the stuff for my tier, my final quest for tier 0.5. It's just sitting in my bags, in my bank. And then my Cenarian Beacon, this is for getting Songflower. So I don't have like a ton. A lot of the gear that's in here, I use a lot of this stuff. There's some of it that I don't. Like, I don't use any of these weapons anymore. But these were hard to get. Like, the Hikari Warblades took me a while to collect. So I don't want to sell them. And as of right now, I don't really have a major issue. But what you want to do, and you notice I have 0 tier 1 and 0 tier 2 in here. A lot of that stuff I had to sell because I just didn't have the space for it. And, you know, if you want to be nostalgic and keep it, that's fine. I know some tanks that have done that do that. But then you're not going to have room for consumes, and you're going to be, you know, you'd have to get rid of all your consumes and keep them either in your bags or on a bank alt. And, which is fine to do. But then you're going to have to wait for that time in between where, you know, you're mailing stuff to yourself. And you have to wait for that hour or whatever it is. So let's go back to, we're going to go back to Menethil. So you need to kind of figure out like what it really is important to you to have in your bank, in your bags, and what's not. And what's soulbound and what's not. And then make a bank alt. So you can see I've got a couple bank alts. I've got this one here is a level 1 mage gnome that you can just run from the starting point. If you die, just, you know, you can GUI res and run to Ironforge, and then send that alt. Like, this alt has all 16 slot bags, and then in their inventory they have all 16 slot bags. So it's not, you know, it's not cheap to do that, but now look at all this stuff. There's no way I'd be able to keep this on my main. It's just not possible. So what this allows you to do is go out and farm, or you know, buy stuff on the auction house, whatever if you have a bunch of, like, I have I have 2 alts that are herbing, and I have 2 that are mining. So I can go out on my rogue and mine an herb in a certain area, and then I can swap to my paladin and herb in a completely different area without having to fly across the map. And then that helps me farm, consumes to make these pots. And then, fishing for stone scales, for stone shield potions, whatever. And then and then I ended up making this other alt for materials because I ended up with so much stuff that's not consumables. Like these are consumables, but I'm on this character because I was running out of room. I'm not anymore, but I was running out of room on my consume character. But I have basically 2 bank alts that just do nothing but hold materials that are high end that I need for stuff. Like all these rune cloth bolts are from fishing. Same thing with the rugged leather. And then I'm going to turn those into bottomless bags. So that's the next thing that I want to move on to is your bag slots. So you start out, if you just hit 60, you might have some 16 slot bags. You might have 14 slots. You need to upgrade your bag slots as soon as you possibly can. Now, there's a couple different... I probably should have pulled this up ahead of time. There's a couple different places to get 18 slot bags. So one is the bottomless bag, which is very expensive. I'm Googling it in the background right now. And what that takes is 8 bolts of rune cloth, 12 moon cloth, 2 large brilliant shards, 2 core leather, and 2 rune thread. And that's why I've got some of those materials right here, because I'm getting ready to make my final one. That's very expensive, but if you can get someone in your guild or an alt. So I leveled a priest to just recently hit level 35, which is this character. And I had 16, I had a lot more than this, but I had a bunch of fell cloth that I got from my main from farming. When I go and get Songflower Serenade, the buff from Fellwood, I usually spend a few minutes killing the satyrs there because they drop fell cloth. But also I need to sometimes farm up the shards, the Fellvine, or the, whatever the shards are that you turn in to get the salve. And they drop Fellcloth. And I also do DM East jump runs on my rogue and kill stuff in there. Those drop Fellcloth as well. So I get Fellcloth for free, basically. And, I'm going to unplug that. Sorry. So I'm getting Fellcloth for free, essentially. I just need to have somebody to transmute it for me. So I eventually leveled my alt. I just recently got done leveling him. You can see he's only got 1 Fellcloth, or 1 Mooncloth. But at one point, I had like 50-something Fellcloth. And you can either sell that on the auction house and then buy the Mooncloth, or find somebody that has the transmutes, or that has the Mooncloth, which is what I did. I found somebody that had 20 Mooncloth, and I just traded them 40 Fellcloth and then gave them some gold for the trouble, essentially. So really the only thing then you need to buy is the core leather, which that comes from MC. Like that's pretty accessible. And on my server, core leather is about 50 gold a piece. So minus the headache of, large brilliant shards are not super expensive. You can buy them, but you can also get those from just doing runs with an enchanter. 50 gold or 100 gold for a bottomless bag. And then you got to find a crafter, obviously, but I don't know what I have somebody that crafts these for me for free. And if you can't find somebody that can do it for free, it's still worth it to buy the bags. Because 16 slot bags, let's see, we'll go let's go back to, so like Mooncloth bags are 50 gold a piece on my server. And they're 16 slots, which these are usually what people run around with. And they're like, oh, that's fine, But if you look, so let's say that, this one is the one you start with. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bank slots. This is your normal backpack. 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have 10 slots that you can replace with bags. So that's if you go from 16 slots to 18 slots, you just freed up 20 bag slots. You just added a 20 slot bag essentially. and it does make a difference. It makes a humongous difference. Now, other than bottomless bags, you can get a Nixia hide backpack, which is very, on my server, it's very contested, meaning that most people that go to a Nixia on my server are going there to get a Nixia hide backpack. They're not going to get their tier 2 helm or this CAG. You know, at this level of the game where it's been out for several years, most people are only going there for the bags. So you can do that. You can go and try to get it. But it's going to probably take you a while. So I have one, and these are not unique. You can get your entire bag slots filled with Nixia hide bags. You can also get a supply bag, but this one is unique. This comes from Argent Dawn. You should get this as soon as you possibly can. I think it's... It's from the turn-in. It's not crafting. Maybe it's not showing up in here. So the way that you get it, it's where you turn in the... So let me get my bank alts. It's where you turn in... Where are they? Are they on my paladin? Yeah, these. Insignia of the Crusade and Insignia of the Dawn. There's a quest that you do in the Plaguelands, in Eastern Plaguelands. And it is... I think it's... Oh yeah, it's the Superior Armaments of Battle, I think is what it is. That very first one. From the Quartermaster. And depending on what rep you are, so if you're only friendly, it's going to cost a lot of those tokens. If you can get yourself, and you want to get rep with Argent Dawn as quickly as possible, so that way you can get your Nax attunement cheaper. But you can turn in those tokens and get this 18 slot bag. So I only have one left. So this is a Wayfarer's knapsack. This is a 16 slotter. So as soon as you can, get 16 slots. And then after that, start working on trying to get as many bottomless bags as you can. Make as many alts as you can. I don't remember if there's a cap. I don't have that many compared to some people. I know some folks that have, like my Paladin, which I do raid on my Paladin sometimes. My Paladin has basically this is my herb alt, but I probably should create another bank alt that just holds herbs that can send them to her when she needs to make pots, because you can see her I mean, I've got a ton of like just redundant stuff. Like there's no reason for her to have Whipperroot Tubers as a Paladin, but I ended up getting them anyway while I was farming. She does my fishing for me as well. She's got, these Scourge Stones, which are bind on pickup. These Wizard Oils probably should go to one of my other bank alts. There's a lot of stuff that I could clean up and get her bags basically empty. I'm just not spending a lot of time, I haven't spent a lot of time cleaning it up. And she only has 16 slotters. So once I get my main with all 18 slotters, then I'll move on to this one. But anyway, point being is that all this stuff is, all these herbs are BOE. So you can ship that stuff off to an alt. And I think you can have I think it's 10 alts maybe, or maybe it's more, I don't know. So let me get back here. So, and then just don't get too attached to pieces of gear. So for example, Gauntlets of Might are the only piece of tier 1 that I still have, because I still use these in 1 or 2 encounters. And it took me a while to complete the Might set when I very first hit 60, and it took me a long time to complete the tier 2 set. But I wouldn't wear any of that stuff today. And if I really want to get it back, my guild still runs MC and still runs BWL every single week. So if I really wanted to get that gear back, I could. The Hikari Warblades I probably can't ever get back because I don't have time to do ZG anymore. I just don't have enough nights in the week to run that. You know, the Widow's Remorse, this was my very first Nax weapon that I got. And then very shortly after that, I was put on the list for Hungering Cold, and I got it. So for a while, I was rocking Hungering Cold and then Widow's Remorse, and then I swapped and was rocking Hungering Cold and CTS. Maladath took me a long time to get, and it's like right now, once I end up with bag space, which I'm very, very close to having bag space issues, as you can tell. Once I get to a point where this is full and I need to put more in, these weapons are probably going to get sold. Because like I said, I don't use them. They're really here for nostalgia, but you know, they're probably going to end up getting sold. The nature resist gear, I've kind of been hanging on to for the, you know, this, like I said before, because I might maybe one day tank green dragons, but I don't, you know, I don't know that that's ever going to be a thing. I do use all my frost resist gear, and I do use my flask set, so I'd rather have the space for those. That's what really started opening my bag space up, was looking at individual pieces one by one. Like Stylines, I'm probably going to sell this because there's no encounters that I really use this on. The only reason I have this and the Glyph of Deflection still are because I have been playing around with an idea for a 5-man build that's a prop build, and I wanted to keep these just to make a fun video, but that is the only reason. Like, there's no encounters that you're going to use these on. The tier 3, I'm probably going to get rid of. The gloves are just not, like, the gloves and the belt are the worst pieces of tier 3 for warriors because they have block chance and block value, and it's better to have steadfasts and mentors, or the Courage belt are better mitt options, honestly. So yeah, you know, you just, and I've seen some folks, I've helped some folks out who have some bag space issues, and you know, they've got, it's like an episode of Hoarders. You know, open up their bags and they've got weapons from when they were leveling. You know, like, I don't have my Whirlwind Axe. I don't have the very first epic I ever got. I don't have, you know, and really, I mean, I guess it depends on your personality, but like, that stuff is not going to help me. Like, I try to make it so that like every single one of these slots. So my horse, I didn't end up selling when I got the tiger, because I thought, oh, maybe one day I'll get sick of looking at the tiger, I'll go back to the horse. I probably won't, because I don't really care what my mount looks like. I got the tiger just because I wanted to see how long it would take me to get to farm Darnassus rep to Exalted, which it took me a lot longer than I thought. So I'm Exalted with Darnassus, doing Runecloth turn-ins, and I went to all the Lobby zones and did all the quests, which I didn't realize. Once you hit level 60, the rep you get from those drops drastically. Or once you get past the level, I think it is. So if it's like a level 5 quest and you're level 20, then the rep drops off a cliff. But I did them all anyway to get as much rep as possible, and then it was like thousands and thousands of Runecloth. So there's still some things I could clean up, like the Rend Head. That's probably never coming back, and even if they do decide to reintroduce it, I can probably just go back and get it because I never completed the quest. I got it, and I have it, but I never, as you can tell, I never completed it because I still got it. So there's some things that I could clean up. Yeah, just trying to have as many slots as possible by increasing your bags. Make a few alts. Just run them through the gauntlet of I like making gnomes or dwarfs because it's I don't want to say it's easier than doing the human run. You could probably do the human run. It would take, I've never timed it, but you could probably run without getting into mobs because you can stay on the road. Whereas the gnomes and the dwarves have to run through a gauntlet of mobs to get to Ironforge, to get to the road to Ironforge, I should say. But I like Ironforge better. Even on my main, I go to Ironforge more than I go to Stormwind. I just like it better, and I always have. So it doesn't really matter. You could do that. You could do Night Elf. I don't know. I never thought about making a Night Elf bank. I don't know why anybody would do that, but But it is nice to have, like, I've got this character in Stormwind, this character in Ironforge. So I have them in different cities now. And it's also easy to use the tram to get between the two. So you don't have, if and that's helpful on your bank alts in case somebody, like if somebody's saying, hey, I'm looking for Arcanite bars. I'll say, and they're in Ironforge, and this character's in Stormwind. I'm like, hey, I've got Arcanite bars. They're not going to wait an hour for me to mail them to my main that can fly around the world. I could say, meet me in Stormwind or meet me in Ironforge, and I'll just take the tram. If you're in Darnassus, good luck having somebody get out there. Okay, well, if anybody has any questions or concern, like a lot of this is common sense, obviously. Like it's, get rid of stuff you don't use, increase the size of your bank as much as you can, use alts. But this has been very helpful for me. Originally, I started with just one alt. This was my alt for everything. So all my pots, all my materials were on this alt, and it very quickly overwhelmed this character's bag slots. It's a lot easier to, and you could even get, like I said, get one bank alt that has all the herbs, one bank alt that has all the ore, one bank alt that has all of the skinning, or whatever professions you have on your main characters. It makes it a lot easier and cleaner, and then you just know which character to log into. Like I know the one that's named Absurd Consumes is my Consumes. And I know it's the mage. That's another reason I kind of made them different classes. So there's one's a priest, one's a mage, and then I'll make another one. So, all right, guys. I'll see you in the next video.